If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The NFL world never fails to deliver drama, but sometimes it's not the big Super Bowl contenders that steal the headlines. It's the teams buried deep in turmoil. And somehow, this February, when everyone's eyes were fixed on the looming Super Bowl showdown, the Cleveland Browns managed to hijack the spotlight with one of the most controversial stories of the season. Their superstar defensive end, Myles Garrett, had reportedly voiced his frustration about the team's direction and even hinted at wanting out. But before the rumor mill could spin completely out of control, the Browns pulled out their checkbook and handed Garrett a monster deal. A record-breaking 4-year, $160 million extension that made him, at the time, the highest-paid defensive player in NFL history. It was supposed to silence the noise. It was supposed to prove the team's commitment to their generational pass rusher. It was supposed to bring Cleveland one step closer to that elusive Super Bowl dream. Instead, it may have done the exact opposite, at least according to former MVP Cam Newton. Cam Newton, now comfortably settled into his role as a brutally honest analyst on his 4th and 1 podcast, did not hold back when discussing Garrett's new deal and the state of the Browns. In his trademark animated style, the former Carolina Panthers quarterback broke down why he believes the Browns are destined to fall short, no matter how great Garrett might be individually. His take wasn't just another soundbite. It was a sharp, layered critique that blended respect for Garrett's rare talent with a harsh reality check about the organization surrounding him. Newton made it clear that, in his eyes, Garrett might be one of the most dominant defensive players in the league, even better than Micah Parsons. But that dominance won't translate to championships if he's stuck in Cleveland. And when Cam Newton talks football, especially about leadership, culture, and decision-making, people listen because he's been there. Myles Garrett is the game's premium disruptor, Newton said passionately on his show. And I say that even above Micah Parsons. If you gave me the two, I'm going with Myles Garrett. He's a Goliath of a man. That's no small compliment, considering how much the league has been buzzing about Parsons and his relentless energy with the Dallas Cowboys. Yet Newton's praise for Garrett quickly turned into a critique, not of the player himself, but of the team around him. "What did you expect, though?" he asked rhetorically. "This was a perfect example of playing a game that you deserve to win, but you just didn't do it because it's about other guys. When you're a one-trick pony, there's only so much you can do before they cave in." And that line, "one-trick pony," hit hard. It summed up the Browns' 2025 season so far. Despite Garrett's incredible efforts, including a jaw-dropping 5-sack performance in a 32-13 loss to the Patriots, Cleveland sits at 2-6, near the bottom of the AFC standings. It's the same story the franchise has lived through year after year. Moments of brilliance buried under mountains of inconsistency, poor quarterback play, and questionable coaching decisions. Garrett's dominance has been undeniable, but football is the ultimate team sport, and Newton was pointing out the obvious. One man can't carry a broken organization on his shoulders forever. Newton's comments have struck a nerve because they come from someone who knows exactly what it feels like to be that guy. During his prime years in Carolina, Newton was a force of nature, the ultimate dual-threat quarterback who could bulldoze defenders and launch bombs downfield. In 2015, he was the MVP, the face of the league, and the driving engine behind a 15-1 Panthers team that reached the Super Bowl. But even then, Newton learned the harsh truth. Talent alone doesn't guarantee a ring. Without consistent support, even the most gifted players eventually hit a wall. So when Cam talks about Garrett's situation, there's a layer of empathy beneath the criticism. It's not bitterness, it's experience talking. What Newton seems to be warning Garrett about is the dangerous comfort of loyalty, that seductive idea that staying with the team that drafted you somehow defines your legacy. When you sign that deal, let's be real, Newton continued. Staying in Cleveland, winning a Super Bowl in Cleveland, it's just not happening. It's a brutal statement, but one that many fans and analysts quietly agree with. Cleveland hasn't shown any real progress despite having a roster filled with Pro Bowl-caliber players. The defense, led by Garrett, can only do so much when the offense sputters week after week. And if history has taught us anything about the Browns, it's that dysfunction always finds a way to creep back in. Newton didn't stop there. He even compared Garrett's decision to re-sign in Cleveland to Max Crosby's loyalty to the Las Vegas Raiders. "I thought it was mighty strange when you signed back to Cleveland," Newton said, his voice full of disbelief. "But also when you see a guy like Max Crosby, you'll want to make it about winning, but you signed back to the team. They don't have no changes. They're just putting makeup on. The girl is still the same girl. The guy is still the same guy." That analogy was classic Cam Newton, colorful, cutting, and completely unfiltered. What he meant was simple. Teams like Cleveland and Las Vegas keep changing the lipstick, but the flaws underneath remain. The front office makes splashy moves. The coaches give fiery press conferences, but the foundation, the culture, the identity, the leadership stays weak. And until that changes, no amount of money or talent can change the outcome. To many fans, Newton's comments sounded like blasphemy. How dare he say Garrett's deal would cost Cleveland a Super Bowl? But to others, he was merely saying what they've been thinking all along. The Browns, as talented as they may look on paper, haven't proven they can build a sustainable winning program. Their history is riddled with disappointment. High draft picks wasted, promising seasons derailed by controversy, and big-name players trapped in mediocrity. Garrett, unfortunately, risks becoming another chapter in that tragic pattern. His $160 million payday might make him financially secure, but it could also anchor him to a team that simply doesn't know how to win. And that's the paradox of greatness in the modern NFL. Every elite player wants two things: money and rings. But it's almost impossible to get both unless you're in the perfect system. Quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow have the luxury of being surrounded by offensive masterminds and stacked rosters. For defensive players like Garrett, the margin is slimmer. You can dominate week after week, terrorize quarterbacks, and still watch your team collapse because your offense can't move the chains. Newton's frustration wasn't aimed at Garrett's decision itself, but at the bigger picture, the idea that players keep betting on broken franchises to suddenly figure it out. Garrett's situation is especially frustrating because, from a pure talent perspective, he's everything you could want in a defensive cornerstone. At 6 feet 4 inches, 272 pounds, with freakish speed and power, he's a nightmare for any offensive line. His stats and tape speak for themselves: elite pass rushing win rates, constant double teams, and highlight reels filled with impossible sacks. Yet, for all his dominance, the Browns continue to drift in the same murky waters. And when that happens, even legends start to fade from the spotlight. Newton's message was almost prophetic. If Garrett doesn't eventually find a winning situation, he'll go down in NFL history as one of those what-could-have-been players, a Hall of Fame talent with no championship to show for it. The irony here is that Garrett's massive contract, the very thing meant to solidify his place in Cleveland, might be the chain that keeps him there. His deal is so large that few teams could realistically afford to trade for him without gutting their roster. So, unless the Browns suddenly pull off a miracle turnaround, Garrett may have to live with the consequences of his loyalty. And in the unforgiving world of the NFL, that loyalty is often mistaken for complacency. Cam Newton was simply pointing that out, not to shame Garrett, but to remind everyone that winning starts with choices, not just talent. As the Browns continue to stumble through the season, sitting at 2-6 with their playoff hopes fading fast, Newton's words have started to echo louder. Fans are already questioning whether the team made the right call by committing so much money to a defensive player when the offense remains a disaster. Others argue that Garrett deserves better, that his prime years are being wasted on a team that doesn't know how to maximize him. Either way, Newton's commentary has added fuel to the fire, forcing both the franchise and its fans to confront a difficult truth. In the end, this entire saga feels like a cautionary tale about ambition, loyalty, and the limits of individual greatness in a team sport. Myles Garrett may be the best pass rusher in the league. He may be a once-in-a-generation athlete, the kind of player who redefines what's possible on defense. But if the Browns can't surround him with the right pieces, a stable offense, a visionary coach, and a winning culture, his brilliance will remain trapped in a cycle of wasted potential. And as Cam Newton so bluntly put it, staying in Cleveland, winning a Super Bowl in Cleveland, it's just not happening. Maybe one day, Garrett will prove him wrong. Maybe the Browns will finally break their curse and rise from mediocrity. But right now, the story feels all too familiar. Another superstar chasing greatness in a city that just can't seem to catch up. And if Cam Newton's words ring true, that $160 million might just end up being the most expensive promise of hope Cleveland has ever bought. A promise that, once again, might never be fulfilled. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. Breaking news, sports fans. Hold on to your seats because the NFL world is buzzing tonight with a report that could shake the Cleveland Browns to their very core. According to ESPN sources, and I repeat, ESPN sources, the Browns' historic quarterback duo, Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, are reportedly set to leave the team. Yes, you heard that right. After a whirlwind season that had fans dreaming of Super Bowl contention, whispers around the league suggest that the era of Gabriel and Sanders in Cleveland may be coming to an abrupt and shocking end. This is more than just a rumor. It's the kind of news that spreads like wildfire through locker rooms, sports bars, and Twitter feeds around the world. Gabriel, a young quarterback with a cannon arm and a knack for clutch plays, paired with Shedeur Sanders, the electrifying dual-threat passer who captured the imagination of fans from the very first snap, formed what many analysts were calling one of the most promising quarterback tandems in recent NFL memory. Together, they weren't just a duo. They were a revolution at the Browns' helm. And yet, tonight, the chatter is that the magic might be over. Now, let's dive into what sources are saying. Insider reports indicate that tensions behind the scenes may have reached a boiling point. Team dynamics, management decisions, and possibly the looming threat of contract negotiations have created a perfect storm. Dillon Gabriel, whose poise in the pocket and pinpoint accuracy have made him a fan favorite, is rumored to be exploring opportunities elsewhere, potentially eyeing a team where he can truly be the undisputed starter. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders, who came into the league with lightning in his veins and a legacy to uphold, is reportedly weighing offers from teams that see him as the face of their franchise. The Browns, it seems, may have underestimated the complexities of managing two rising stars under one roof. Fans are understandably in disbelief. Social media has exploded with speculation, memes, and heated debates. Some fans are mourning the potential end of the Gabriel Sanders era before it truly had a chance to flourish. Others are dissecting the possible destinations for each quarterback, creating detailed, what-if scenarios that stretch from coast to coast. Imagine Dillon Gabriel in a high-octane offense like the Chiefs, or Shedeur Sanders taking the reins of a team desperate for a dynamic quarterback presence. The possibilities are endless, and the NFL landscape could look very different by the time this story reaches its next chapter. Adding another layer of intrigue, league insiders suggest that this isn't just about talent. It's about fit, philosophy, and long-term vision. The Browns may be at a crossroads, forced to make a decision that will define their future for years to come. Do they double down on a single quarterback or risk losing both stars in pursuit of a unified plan? And what does this mean for the locker room chemistry, the fan base, and the team's overall strategy? Right now, it's a whirlwind of uncertainty, with rumors flying in every direction and few concrete answers. One thing is clear, this isn't a minor roster shakeup. This could be the end of an era that, for some fans, already feels like it was too short-lived. The timing of this news couldn't be more dramatic. Coming off a season where both quarterbacks showed flashes of brilliance and hints of what could have been a legendary pairing, the announcement, or even the speculation, feels almost like a betrayal. Analysts are dissecting every move, every sideline interaction, and every press conference statement from the Browns front office, trying to detect a hint of strategy or a clue to what comes next. Some say this was inevitable, given the competitive nature of professional football and the fact that both quarterbacks are young, ambitious, and destined for greatness. Others argue that the Browns should have found a way to nurture this partnership rather than letting it unravel before our eyes. Meanwhile, sports betting markets are reacting in real time, with odds shifting wildly on potential trades, free agency moves, and even draft implications. If Gabriel or Sanders do leave, the ripple effects will extend far beyond Cleveland, influencing team strategies, playoff projections, and even fan loyalty across the league. Conversations about which team will benefit the most are already dominating sports talk shows, podcasts, and online forums, and the debate is heating up with every passing hour. Speculation is rampant. Some insiders hint at blockbuster trades, while others suggest that one of the quarterbacks could be on the verge of signing a lucrative long-term deal that would make them the centerpiece of a franchise elsewhere. What makes this story even more compelling is the human element. Gabriel and Sanders have not only shared the field, they've shared locker rooms, media sessions, and countless hours of practice. The bond between teammates in this kind of high-pressure environment is unique, and to see it potentially dissolve carries an emotional weight that fans don't often get to witness. There's an almost Shakespearean drama unfolding here. Young stars, dreams of glory, and the merciless business of professional sports all colliding in a way that could redefine careers overnight. Fans can only imagine the private conversations, the tough decisions, and the silent calculations happening behind closed doors, and it adds a layer of intensity that mere statistics can't capture. And then there's the speculation about what this means for the Browns coaching staff. Head coaches and offensive coordinators are reportedly being consulted, weighed, and considered as the team tries to navigate this potential upheaval. Will they fight to keep one quarterback, or let the duo disband in pursuit of a more conventional structure? These decisions will likely shape not only the team's offensive identity, but also the perception of the franchise among players, agents, and the media. It's a chess game, and every move has ramifications that could echo for seasons to come. As this story develops, one thing is certain: the NFL landscape is on edge. Fans, analysts, and insiders alike are glued to any snippet of information, eagerly dissecting each report, each rumor, each subtle hint from the league, the Browns, or even the quarterbacks themselves. Social media chatter is reaching fever pitch, with hashtags, trending topics, and heated debates keeping this story alive in real time. And for those of us who live for the drama, the tension, and the possibility of witnessing a major shakeup, this is the kind of rumor that keeps the pulse racing and the speculation endless. So what comes next? Will Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders find new homes, leaving the Browns to rebuild and redefine themselves? Or is there still a chance for reconciliation, a way for the team to retain both of their young stars and attempt to capitalize on their combined potential? The answers are murky at best, and every source seems to offer a slightly different take. But one thing is undeniable: the Browns quarterback saga is reaching a fever pitch, and the fallout from this rumored departure could reshape the league's quarterback landscape for years to come. Fans are bracing for impact, insiders are sharpening their sources, and the NFL world waits with bated breath to see how this drama unfolds. In the end, whether the rumors hold true or the story takes an unexpected twist, the era of Gabriel and Sanders in Cleveland, as we know it, may be teetering on the edge of history. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!